Welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today is the first day of May and it's May I Scraplift You. I'm also using my Counterfeit Kit Challenge and it's Friday, so it's mixed media mayhem, and I'm going to use this picture of my two kiddos, this Minty paper from Country Fair, this Kaiser Craft rub-on, and then a whole bunch of other bits and pieces. So while I rub on this really old Kaiser Craft rub-on, I'm using it on top of foam so it comes off onto the cardstock a little bit easier. Mixed Media Mayhem today is using metallic paint or foil, gesso, sprays, and watercolor blending. So we're going to get into some of that right away, but to start with, I'm getting this down because Crystal, or Pineapple Paper, is the first one up for May I Scraplift You, and you can see her lovely layout up in the left corner of my screen. And I thought this was a fun layout to scrap lift. So this is from one of her Sketch Sundays. I pulled it off of Instagram and didn't watch the video until after I had created this one, because it was one of the ones that I'd missed from watching for her. So I will link that below so you can go take a look at what the original layout, how it came together, and you can see how mine came together, because that's what I'm doing right now. So she had that big camera, so I definitely had this big camera that I wanted to get used, and I've had it forever, so yay! It's probably like, I can't even imagine how old it is. It's old. And since this is my first layout with my counterfeit kit, and I am going to gut some of this paper anyway, because look at how pretty it is. How could you not? I'm going to use quite a bit of what I got on the layout anyway, so that works out well. And then I am going to have a little bit more of a border than Crystal has on hers. So Crystal probably has, maybe a half an inch all the way around. I have a full inch because I didn't want to hide that really pretty paper. My picture is not going to go into the pocket that she has. It's going to go right on my layout, because aren't these too cute? Of course it would go on the layout. And I don't usually have photos that need to be hidden anyway, and I don't have a reason for a pocket on here, so not a big deal. So I am going to glue down the white cardstock, so it is 10 by 10, and then I'm going to get into my gesso. And I could have gessoed this before, but the plan was to do a little bit of gesso on the flower bit here. I also have this ribbon. She's got some frazzle on hers, and you can totally see the frayedness in her picture. So this is a burlap ribbon, and I'm cutting off the wire edge so that I can fray it, because I liked the texture that gave. So I'm going to do that on both ends. I pull the wire out this side first to see if I can make that work, but it's actually really well stitched on that edge, so I definitely have to cut this off too. So getting that done. There's also a playlist for May I Scraplift You, so make sure you take a look at all the other people that are either scraplifting Crystal today, or Crystal gave the option for them to scrap lift their own layout. I definitely chose Crystal because, well, Crystal has beautiful layouts, and I actually have a date that I'm on for May I Scraplift You this year, so that's really exciting. So I can scrap lift myself on my day. Here's my gesso. It had been sitting for a bit, so I am stirring it up really well. And then I'm just going to cover all of my white cardstock and then a bit of that pattern paper in behind. And it does get all wrinkly and that kind of thing. And if that bothers you, this is probably not the layout for you to try and scrap lift, because yeah, unless you have a better way of making it not wrinkly, but I don't care. It's going to go into a book eventually, and the weight of the pages will make it not so wrinkly, and my kids don't care. And the only problem with it is it's hard to take pictures of. I think that's the only thing I don't like about it. And then you can see I'm smudging it, not doing full on the edges, so that I could get some lines and stuff. And so it is dry now, and I did clean up a whole bunch in between. So there was a little bit of time in between this, and this is a really old watercolor set. So I needed to do spray and watercolor blending. So this, I touched it and it's still a little tacky in spots. So I do not have a problem adding my heat gun to things. Zero problems with that. Now it's dry enough. I'm going to put some water on it. The gesso should make the water stick on top. But water and watercolors and gesso are not typically, you don't usually mix them together. And that's totally okay. I don't know if I would have done this the same way. If I was to do it again, I might, if I was going to replicate this layout exactly as is, again, I think I would have used watercolor paper because I have some 12 by 24 or 12 by 18 watercolor paper. So I cut it down to the 12 by 12 and then use the watercolors on it for this, and then do the gesso on the background like there is on the pattern paper, but not on this main bit. Mostly because the pigment gets a little sandy kind of look to it, and it's fine, and I like the layout, but it is what it is. Not a big deal. So there is my watercolor blending. Adding some more green. The blue actually ended up purple because of all the pink that was on my brush, and that was totally okay. I do have a little bit of the purple in there too, and then I mostly dried it. Do a little bit of splatter with the brush for what's left on there, which actually comes out mostly pinkish. And then I decided to do some gold sprays because we do need metallic paint on here as well. And then I pulled out my metallic gold paint. But the sprays work for the spray part of things, even though that's not quite blended. But I'm going to call watercolor blending done. And then this is totally clogged. Usually I can use it in the fine liner. I had it sitting upright instead of upside down, which all my fault. And then, so I'm going to put this thick acrylic paint, because look at it's so thick, through this stencil. Totally okay. Makes a big monster mess. Look at how thick that is. And so I'm just playing, having a great old time. Crystal has some polka dot stencil stuff. I thought this would be fine. I'm not too concerned about it being messy. I'm drying some of it. I didn't like one of the lines that was there, so I smeared some of that top one, and then I dry it some more. And so I did skip through some of the drying process, but I don't mind drying acrylic paint. And yes, it gets puffy if you've got lots on your page. I don't mind that. So, but if you do mind that, don't use your heat gun. So then this goes on like Crystal has on hers for her frazzle. That's her black and white strip. And then I did all the watercolor there for where I did, because the shadows that she has kind of looks like there might have been some paint or something there. So that's why I did the watercolors there. When you watch her video, because I've watched her video now, you'll know that it's actually just shadow. But that's totally okay. And then decided to matte this with this is the background paper, and so I am going to use it in a couple spots. So this is the other side of it, and I do need something to go in between where, like her, she has that blue strip. This is my blue strip. And then I will do another piece of paper that kind of mimics her camera paper, and then I do my own thing. So, which is all good. It's got the gist of what hers was, and they're not meant to be exactly the same. And that's a lot of the fun of the May I Scraplift You, is it is not going to be the same. So I am using a lot of glue on this layout because of all the mixed media and the gesso. Glue just tends to stay on better. And then I pulled out the Minte ephemera pieces from the county fair. And so I'm going to pull out a few bits that I'm going to use. So this blue flower is so pretty. I'm going to pull out some of the orangey red flowers that are in here. This building, some flowers. It's not good. That's not going to stay there, but it's there for now. Just trying to see what I want. And so I think that's pretty, and it ties into that background paper really well because they're the similar colors, and I think similar flowers for some of them. Most of them are roses on the background, but there are some hints of the blue one and the other one. And then this is where I decide that I do need one more piece of paper to mimic where her cameras are. So I'm just going to cut that one down because everything else is glued, and that works out pretty well there. And then I'm cutting that in half because who knows, I might want the other half of the building on something somewhere at one point. And my layout does go all the way across instead of sticking to center and right, but that's okay. It is what it is. Crystal did have some flowers on hers in the spot that I just put that blue one that I cut apart. And then she's got different layers going on the little bit below the camera and along the side. So that's what I'm mimicking here, but differently. And I think that's pretty cute there. And then this leaf I'm going to put here, which draws your eye from the green at the top down below. And I think that works really well. And taking another look at the chipboard, there is nothing on here I can use. I need to maybe take some pictures of our garden to use some of those up. I'm going to call this Sisters. I'm going to use this really old tile sticker sheet. I don't even know where it's from. They're really thin. I know they're super old. And Sisters doesn't fit on the top, so I'm going to move it just down here. Over top of the photo. And these move pretty good, or pretty well. And then I'm like, yep, that's okay. And then I decide that my camera's a little stark, so I'm going to add a whole bunch of watercolor to it and add a little bit more blending here. So I'm going to start with pink, and I'm just adding the tiniest bit. Most of the watercolor palette has mostly dried up, and so I am just adding the tiniest bit of color. And then I grabbed my water there because that edge went a little pinker than I wanted it to. So I just watered it down a little bit, and that was fine. And now this is the bluey purple. And then I just added it in a couple spots, added a little water to the blue so I can do some more splatters because I decided I wanted more blue. And some more. Trying to get it in all sorts of different places. And then I decide this SI just needs to be down just a little bit. It was just a little too wonky for me. And then here is the layout completed. So make sure you take a look at what Crystal does on her channel today for pineapple papers. I will have her linked in my description box below, along with the video from her layout and the playlist for this one. I will also have Counterfeit Kit Challenge and Mixed Media Mayhem playlists linked below as well. Make sure you take a look at all those, ladies. And I really appreciate you being here. If you're new here, I would appreciate a subscribe, like, comment. I always get back to all my comments. Thank you so much for being here again. Have yourself a wonderful day.